right. Good afternoon. My name is Kaylee Robinson. I'm the program specialist for Mothers Against Drunk Driving, and I have a wonderful coworker, Teresa DeWild. She's down in the coastal area and handles the Augusta area as well. And welcome to Mothers Against Drunk Driving, 8 weeks of great enrichment for our youth and our parent programs. Today's mission is, of course, MAD's mission is, of course, end drunk driving, help fight drug driving, support the victims of this 100% preventable crime, prevent underage drinking, and we always help victims every 8 minutes throughout the nation, 100% free. Today we want to turn our pain into purpose.
At MAD, we believe in zero fathers who aren't there for bedtime, 0 mothers who miss the first day of school, 0 children who never come home. We believe in 0 victims of drunk driving. With MAD, your support adds up to 0. Because we believe in a hug on the first day of school. We believe in another bedtime story. We believe in no more victims. We believe in 0.
And that's definitely MAD's mission. As a reminder, as we go through the presentation today, please mute your lines. We hear outcoming and background noise. Be courteous to your presenters and other guests. Please, chat box is always open and available to anybody if you have any questions, if you have any comments, and don't be afraid to ask any questions. We are all here to learn. Things to talk about today. The issue, underage drinking, and of course, preventing people that continue to drink and drive. And we help victims who have been impacted by drunk driving. An overview of topic and discussion, and of course, we close with Q&A. 8 weeks we're going to go through of what we covered each week. Things to think about today. You can make a difference. Impaired driving affects us all. What are the reasons why it's okay to drink and drink underage? Do they know? Anybody ever tell them? How would you feel if someone you know or you love was hurt because of your choices? How would you feel if you're directly impacted? And what can you do to help? 2 out of 3 people have been impacted by drunk driving, even on this call today. Issue. National drunk and drug driving, these are statistics. We have people here from, Denise here from Department of Health. She's gonna go into statistics. We are all statistic driven, but this is not, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, even though these are statistics and numbers, we actually deal with people, loved ones, people we know. So look at those statistics. Look how many people on this call you know have been impacted by drunk driving and drug driving. This is our mission. To, of course, reduce underage drinking for drinking drivers and non-drinking drivers. Fatality rates here, the statistics, but understanding, guess what? This is how it actually holds people in the hospitals and in their pockets as well.
Okay, for week 1, we picked the topic of Y21. Lindsay was going to be online today, but I think she got pulled into another meeting. But she was our guest speaker for that one. We discussed, why the government decided to choose 21, the states that were the ones that took the longest, all the scientific purposes behind it, the European myth, the topic of, since kids over the age of 18 or 16, some places over in Europe can drink, then why can't we? We also talked about truth in the advertising, how certain advertisers will use alcohol to try and entice people to drink. Then we did touch on brain development while we were there too, and a little bit about poly use. So if anybody has any questions, let me know, but I'm gonna set up the first poll question that is specifically about this topic. So it'll be, what year was the drinking age set to 21? Was it 1929, 56, 78, or 84?
It's interesting because when I'm in the classroom, I kind of show my age. You know, 1984, Ronald Reagan, okay? They're like, who? These little kids are like, I don't know who that is, but kind of letting them know. You may have a scholar in your classroom that actually knows each president.
Mhm. Yeah, and then during that conversation as well, we talked about how Louisiana was the last state to do so. The government was using highway funds to try and entice the states to change it to 21 from 18. So it was kind of interesting going through all of that information on week 1 to kick off our enrichment series. So for those of you that answered, I showed the results there briefly. It was kind of split between 78 and 84. But 1984 was the right one.
So week 2, I invited the Shepherd Center, who are amazing partners with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. They help families who have been impacted with spinal injury and brain injury. So we've had a lot of our families or victims who are survivors and are going through treatment at the Shepherd Center. So we had Emma and her wonderful mother, Debbie Bowman, actually be our guest speakers. And Caroline, she was our brain injury program nurse, and she was a guest speaker talking about brain and spinal injury. Topic of discussion, of course, included how does alcohol affect the brain? And she went into great detail with boys versus girls and age groups and different demographics of actually how the brain operates before it's been impacted by drugs and alcohol and after. Why the legal drinking age should be 21. It is with the developmental stages. And of course, this is a really great segue that she actually included. What makes you a risk taker? And even if you know people that have treatment problems or is diagnosed in your family, okay, it could be a learned behavior or it could be actually through chemical and induced. And she went into the difference between alcohol and marijuana use and how that affects your brain. And what can you do to help your brain as it continues to develop? And this is, of course, Carolina's contact information. She's at the Shepherd Center. Wonderful person to actually be in partnership with. Week 2. How does the brain stop developing? So we know when it starts, but when does it stop? And what age is that, right? This is a great question when we go into the schools, talking to young people, say, well, when is it cognitive thinking, at the age of 2, 5, now everything is repetitive over and over again. Well, now we have executive brain functions, things like that. Late teens, and this is actually a poll question. And you guys can take that poll.
Click one more time. There you go. Yeah, I already did the poll while you were talking, so this is what we got for the results. And everybody got that, so 100% across the board. Good job, guys.
And Lizzie, did you want to say anything about this? I guess I know we all talk about brain development in our presentations.
I mean, sorry, I was a little bit late. I missed the first part, which was, but really, and this is something that at our agency Beyond the Bell, we stress a lot. It really is the brain development. And here, it gives the children this opportunity to realize that the future is in their hands. Like, they literally get to mold their futures. And so that's what we try to stress to them, so that they can make these good decisions, that the good decisions they're making is an investment in their future. And so what do you value? And so again, bringing that up though, that this is how your brain works, is really cool. There's a lot of great videos and stuff online, and it's a really good point to bring up. Thank you.
Thank you. Week 3. Which drug is the most addictive?
Yep. So for this one, we had talked about the different types of drugs and poly use that are seen on the roadways. Our special guest was Lieutenant Victor Tyson. He's the traffic commander for Pooler Police Department. And what we did for this session is we actually went and pre-recorded some kids between the ages of 12 and 16. And we talked to them about the different types of drugs, alcohol, how it affects the brain. And we discussed, well, that was a good point too, the definition between, you know, what a drug is, what's considered a drug, and what addiction is. We talked to them about how it impacts them, not just physically, but both mentally. And while we were doing these presentations with them, the kids had the opportunity to put on like drug goggles and alcohol goggles and do some driving on golf carts. And then we discussed how police officers or, you know, deputies or whatever, if they pull you over and you're under the influence of either alcohol or drugs or both, how do they know? And so we kind of went over the certain reflexes that each person has that you cannot control if you are under the influence of alcohol or drugs. And then we discussed the poly use. Again, on this one, this was a big one for Lieutenant Tyson, because he says that over half of the DUIs that he pulls over is not just alcohol alone, that it's usually mixed with something else. And then out of those drugs, marijuana would be the first, and then it goes down from there to different layers of opioids. And then, like I said, we did video evidence. We had a really good time with the kids videotaping that out on scene with a bunch of the officers and the kids. So we had a good time.
Thank you.
We'll have our next question. Oh, sorry. We'll go back through and let you guys know the points of contact. So if you want to contact them directly, you can. But for the question of the week, which drug is the most addictive? So let you guys answer. We'll see. Got a split decision on that one. Yeah, they are actually all equal. All of them have addiction properties or addictive properties, and it's easy to try one of these just one time and get addicted. That was something that we also discussed during the presentation as well.
All right, week 4. Why do teens drink in parenting style? Great week, and we had some special guests from the AAA, Garrett and his team, talk about, of course, underage drinking. We worked so closely with them during prom season for the last couple of years, and we hit like 16 schools throughout the state because they have the driving simulator program, and then they have the pre-prom event that actually goes for juniors and seniors that are going to the prom. And we introduced a conversation of, why do teens drink? Why do you think they're including actually with their fun? And they can replace it and, of course, have healthier goals. And we talked about the biggest influences in teen choices. And we talked in detail about the AAA pre-prom promise event that's only for juniors and seniors. And of course, we included the parenting aspect of it, because Matt has a parent-teen agreement, which is really, really key for new drivers. And they get, it encourages parents to sit down with their young drivers and say, what is a plan? Okay, if plan A doesn't work, what is plan B? And of course, and then they actually have conversation of making a plan, not necessarily for prom season, but to transition you to adulthood. And that's Garrett and his team's information. And of course, we go into, why do teens drink in parenting style? Why do teens drink? Of course, this is necessarily conversation that we continue to need to have. Why? Because some kids, what we will find out, it's not necessarily the case. Teresa?
Yes, I have the poll up. Why do teens drink? Do they get the pressures from social media, television, peer pressure, or all of the above? And go ahead with the next one. You guys got it. Every single one. Good job.
Yeah, and those are the influences. You know, that's why we have to continue to talk to our young people and let us be the influencer versus social media, television, and peer pressure.
Yeah, during this presentation, I enjoyed it a lot, mainly because we focused on the point of starting the conversations early and continuing them on through into college years. Because you can't have the discussion just one time and expect that that's going to be, okay, I talked to them when they were 9, so they'll be good. No, you got to continue having those conversations, and then as they grow, different aspects and influences coming from different sides of the youth.
Right. All right, week 5. What percentages of young people between the ages of 12 to 20 binge drink? And of course, my wonderful person to go to down in Kennesaw is Latrice Roby. She's the actual program director for Cobb County Alliance, Cobb Community Alliance to Prevent Substance Abuse. And she's a wonderful contact person up there. She's got about 12 schools that she goes to. Topic of discussion, why 21? Typical fun, and what are the consequences? Temporary fun. What is an alcohol disorder? And of course, the legal limit of intoxication. As we do presentations throughout the state, I'm learning that there's different pockets of people that have been exposed. So we can't necessarily say, I went to one school and a kid said, well, I know what binge drink, what does binge mean? And they knew clearly, but some schools don't know what binge means. So I have to explain to young people, binge means a lot in a little bit of time. And so they understand that, okay, if I'm at home between the hours of 2 to 5, when my parents are not there, what can I do? And so that's why after school programs are so important, or sports and athletics or after school activities are so important, because we have to continue to keep these kids engaged. And so that's why we created this summer enrichment program, or summer enrichment summer series, because we need to let kids know that we still have to be engaged with them even during off time. And so we talked about that, destruction, dependency, and death with alcohol and substance abuse use. That's our contact information. Poll question.
Okay, so for this poll question, we were asking how many youth are binge drinking. So like a percentage or a number. So is it 1 in 7, 2 in 7, 4 in 7, or 5 in 7? Let's see if anybody changes their answer.
Sorry.
We had a little bit all over the board, which is fine, and that's good, because like we said, this whole presentation again is about learning. A lot of people don't understand what the term of binge drinking necessarily means. Just like Keely had said, depending on where I speak or where I go, or if I do an impact panel, a lot of people think that you have to have like a dozen beers in an hour for it to be considered binge drinking. And it's not. It's 2 or more beverages. So like 2 beers, 2 shots, 2 glasses of wine in 1 hour is considered binge drinking, because that will automatically put you over that legal BAC limit.
Exactly. And if you're on probation, it's 0.
Mm-hmm. Or if you're underage, it's 0.
Right. And so we got to let people know, we have to be very transparent, and of course, because people are asking in great detail what makes sense and what is the legal limit, so I won't get in trouble. But to backtrack, for educational, for underage, we got to let them know, okay, this is not a plan that you should even include, because you have healthier goals to start with. MAG created this great segue in early 2010, how the teens can actually use their voices. And I love this because kids are looking at us adults and seeing our behavior. So if they're not driving, because they're not the driver, they're the passenger. Okay, so they can actually say, well, I know my driver has been doing, and I've decided to use my voice not to get in the car with them or find another way to get home. So we included Smart Start with our presentation, one of our national partners. with Mothers Against Drunk Driving. And she talked about people that actually have the interlock device in their cars, or have, we call it blow before you go, you know. And as young people, they're still seeing us, and we're not talking to babies here, we're talking to teens. Okay, they're kind of mature and they see what we're doing. And of course, they can make the decision of if they get in the car with them or not. So Jessica continued with statistics of like how many people were actually repeat offenders. She talked about the DUI laws and things like that. Alternatives to getting home safely if you actually have to get home, or use alternative transportation to get you home as well. She went into great detail on the international interlock laws, second offense, first offense, etc. And they have this really great portable breath test. And it's like a cell phone, pretty much. It's not even in your car, that can blow before you go or even start the car. And it can actually, it's a recording system. So the Smart Start agency can see where you are and regulate it. Pretty cool. And reasonable for needing a breath test. So necessarily, you don't have to have two DUIs just to blow before you go. This could be athletes. This can be for a parent program for your young people. You know, they have a probable cause of, you know, having an issue with, you know, substance abuse or alcohol. Really great tool to use even with athletes. And that's her information.
So then our question for the week is, how many teens admit to being the passenger of a drinking driver? So again, we're going to try to go by percentage wise. Is it 1 in 5, 1 in 4, 1 in 3, or are they doing everything perfect and it's none? Okay. I had it split between 1 in 5 and 1 in 4. So actually, which is good when you look at the overall scheme of it, but it's still, that's a third of the kids that go out that they may be drinking but not driving, but they're allowing their drivers to drink. So that's something else that needs to be covered when you're having conversations about drugs and alcohol use, is you want to continue that conversation and have that plan A, B, and C, like Kaylee had said. So if you get to a destination and your designated driver is no longer a designated driver, you still need to call for help or call them out and make sure that they get home safe as well.
Week 7. Youth who start drinking young are 5 times more likely. A great segue, great friend of mine, Tamika Ellis, with MAP, which is a substance abuse program. They provide support peer-to-peer for people that have substance abuse problems. Peer-to-peer. So they match a person with someone that is actually in sobriety, meaning they actually have completed their 1 year or X amount of time to actually be a candidate to be a peer-to-peer support person. So they link them up and if they carry them through their treatment or being a person of relevant support. We talked about the good, the bad, and of course the ugly. And okay, what to do if there's a real addiction issue. And they didn't talk about just alcohol, but just addiction with substance abuse overall. Recovery programs and support programs, and she talked about the peer-to-peer support programs, and that is our contact information.
Okay, so for this poll question, we want to know the actual answer to the question. You know, youth who start drinking are 5 times more likely to die young, be popular, become alcohol dependent, or win a scholarship. You guys paid attention during class. Love it. That is true. The younger that a youth starts drinking, the higher risk they are to becoming alcohol dependent. So that was something that we definitely made sure to cover while we were doing that presentation. Okay, so for the last week we did who has the most influence on teens to not drink. I decided to have Sergeant Matt Lynn from the Lyons Police Department come in and talk. He is really good on community policing. I've seen this guy in action. He knows kids from almost the time they're born till the time they go to college and then move back home with families. Like, he's been around a really long time. But we discussed, who is the biggest influence in a teen's life, the reasons why they choose to drink. We brought those topics up so that when parents and teens are having conversations, that they know that there are quote unquote reasons for kids to drink. Like, they, whether it's boredom or social pressure, or if they're having any major life changes, those are usually things that may cause a student to start drinking. And then we did again talk about why parents allow their teens to drink, because there are some parents that think that's okay, because I did it when I was younger, so my kids should be fine if I let them drink as well. And then all the different issues that can occur with teen drinking, which goes back to kind of cover almost everything within the week 1 through 7 that we had done, because there's so many different things that can happen. If you set your goals, if you start drinking, will that upset your goals in the future? And it doesn't necessarily have to be just that headache or hangover in the morning, but what's going to happen if you continue to do that in the next month, the next year, the next 10 years? So for our poll question, that was exactly what the question, what it was, is what are some of the reasons that teens choose to drink? So for socialization, trying to fit in, life transitions, emotional or psychological pain, sorry. Okay. And you guys did great. That was awesome. But like I said before, there's all those different things that are out there that are influencing teens to drink, and that's why it's extremely important for parents to come in and talk with them, because statistically about 74% of all teens will listen to their parents above everybody else, even if they give you that weird look of, I'm not listening to you. They actually are.
Again, we're all driven by statistics, and this is kind of heartening to me, because traffic deaths are the #1 killer for teenagers as new drivers. And so we have to continue to drive that home. That's why we're going to segue to 511, and then of course, Department of Health as our next speakers. But most importantly, finding alternative ways to get home. Don't drink. You're not 21 yet, and you should be the designated driver. Making a plan before you leave, not after you've gone out and already started to drink, and you can say, wait a minute, I was a sober designated driver. Not necessarily. It goes out the door. And alternative transportation. Use smarter. It's always smarter. Taxis, Uber, Lyft, horse fucking carriage.
You got to put it down there. I'm in Savannah. I got to put the horse-drawn carriages in there.
And of course, always reach out to somebody. I always tell my young people, Uber, right? So I use Uber for my young people. I have an 18-year-old person, and I actually looked at my credit card receipt. I saw Uber was down there for like $2.35, but I knew she chose to use Uber because she had parked a long way, so she could Uber back to her car. No problem. It's kind of lazy, but guess what? It makes sense. Yeah. And she didn't want to make that long walk, so she just Ubered back to her car after walking through the park. No problem. Use it. And we'll talk about it later. And of course, before you go out, plan ahead. Uber's always reasonable transportation to get you home. Lyft, taxi, bus.
There it is.
Teresa's favorite.
But overall, we want everybody to just remember that we would much rather you guys choose a safe ride home. If you have to use an Uber or a taxi or call a sober friend or a family member, because we'd rather you guys use those resources. And I'm telling you, parents and guardians would rather you use those resources as well, instead of, go ahead and click through, Kaylee. Instead of ending up finding one of our wonderful Georgia State Patrol officers or being in the back of an ambulance because something else serious occurred. So any parent, any guardian, any adult in your life would be much happier to get a call at a weird time of night that you need a safe ride home, rather than having an officer show up the door instead. So always be smart. And like Kaylee said, make that plan before you go out, not once everybody has started partying already.
Definitely. All right, so we have a wonderful, wonderful segue person, Ivan, who is with 511, because again, we have to continue these relationships, and they're actually our first informational person on the highways as you see them driving on major highways throughout the state of Georgia. Ivan.
Yes, thank you, Kaylee. Yeah, hello everyone. My name is Ivan Lichtenstein, and I work as the media liaison for Georgia 511, which is a service provided by the Georgia Department of Transportation. And just before I get into everything of how we provide safety to not only motorists, but especially for this conversation as a whole, the youth, what is 511? So if you've never heard of it before, it's a free, I want to say again, a free phone service that provides real-time traffic information and travel information 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're never closed, even during winter storms, ice storms, and even now during the pandemic, we're never closed. We operate 24/7. And if you have a phone, just dial 511 and you can be connected to an operator, receive information on travel times and routes, tourism information, among many other services that we do provide. And in the way it started was that in the year 2000, 511 as a whole became America's travel information phone number. So anywhere you were within the states, you call 511, that's your service. So if you call 511, say in Colorado, they have one in Utah, and then also as well here in Georgia, we have one for our 511 service. So our most popular feature would be calling 511 and pressing 9 to speak with an operator, which is something that the youth can also do. So if before the youth head out onto the road, if it is dangerous at all, if it's a heavy route, they can call that number. They can speak with an operator to ask how a certain route is doing, or they can also receive that online on our website and on our app as well, which I'll also get into. And the most important thing that we get out of 511 for our services is that we're working for you. We're working for the state. We want you to be safe at all times. So if there's ever any reason where you as a motorist or as a youth do not feel safe at all, or you need to know how heavy or how low impact a route is doing, especially if you're a first time driver too, that's also important. You can always call our number or visit our website for more information.
Wonderful, thank you.
All right, so why are we important? So one of the main reasons that we're important is that we help to reduce traffic all along the interstates, all along the roads that happen due to accidents or road construction. So one of the things we do is that we help clear up accidents that help make it safer for people that were impacted by the accident, making sure they get the attention they need, and also for motorists that are on those roads as well. And we also do help out with construction as well, because construction, especially if you're living in the Atlanta area specifically, it causes a lot of backup and lots of traffic. And sometimes people in traffic can be frustrated or angry, and they can do something that you don't want to be doing as well. They can swerve out and try to avoid it all. Or even worse, they can be traveling fast on a construction area and not be safe within their own vehicle, and then swerve, and then something tragic happens. So we help to put out different campaigns. We help to put out different images on our social media and also on our road signs that help make people more aware of this for the safety of that. We also do a lot within our app as well. So the 511 app is a free app you can get on your iPhone or, like me, an Android device. You just go to the Apple Store, the Google Play Store, you just simply type in 511 and it will pop up. So it's just the 511 app. And from that app, you're able to view different alerts. So if there's an alert in the area and you're at home and you want to go out, but you're not sure how impacted this road or highway or interstate is going to be, you can actually see on the app the alert where it will be. So if it says I-75, I-85, I-285 is blocked, these many lanes are blocked. And then at the end, we're going to have an action statement. And the action statement is going to be a statement that will tell you what to do or what we recommend that you would do. So if all lanes are blocked, we would just say avoid traveling in this direction, use an alternate route. If all but one lane if all lanes are open but one lane is blocked, we would say you can use an alternate route if you want to, but if you want to travel this way, you can. Just expect heavy delays. It all just depends on the type of alert we have, whether it's a high severity alert or a low medium severity alert. Also in this app as well, that will help out youth in future events is hurricane information. So we know how bad it is traveling during the rain, how dangerous that can be, and especially if you're a first-time driver as well, if you've never driven in the rain. And if a hurricane is ever happening in your area, or if a hurricane, or you need information on what to do for hurricane safety, we provide that on 511, and it's also all accessible through the app. So if you want to know different routes, evacuation services, it's all going to be on the app and on the website as well, provided by 511. And alerting crashes go back into alert. So for any high severity crash or medium severity crash or accident, if you have the app or if you're on our website, you're actually able to see the alert with more suggested information for you as the youth or motorist. We also provide future construction as well. So for the summer, we have a lot of construction going on within the state. And for any information regarding what construction is happening near your area that might obstruct your route or might impact your travel for a couple of days or for a couple of hours, we also have those alerts we also have that information on our app as well. And one thing we also do have is an interactive map that displays all of this information. So for future construction areas, accidents, alerts, it's all going to be accessible on our map on the app. So if you are someone who is, again, planning on going out, seeing your friends, especially if you're doing things such as going to prom or any event where a lot of the youth would be during normal times, we have an interactive map that will show which routes are best to take for your safety and concerns. And again, it has all the information such as the alerts, crashes, and future construction on that map as well. So with all that being said, we also do provide our Hero and Champ services. So with our Hero and Champ services, what they are if you're ever on the highway or interstate and you see kind of a yellowish, greenish vehicle within the Metro Atlanta area that says Hero on it, that is a service that operates in the Metro Atlanta area. And then we also have white trucks that say Champ on it that operate outside the Metro Atlanta area. But their job is to assist motorists on the roadway, and you can notify them through the app as well. So I'll just show you what this looks like through my app. So you get the app. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's actually a pretty cool service. I personally have had to use Champ once, and I've called them for other people that have had a flat tire, or you can tell they're having car trouble. You can call Champ and let them know where that location is if they're on one of the major highways, and they'll go out and assist that person so they're not out there by themselves. Because sometimes you can't call 911 because it's not really an emergency.
Right.
The 511 app, or call them, and they'll be more than happy to come out and assist with just about anything.
Yeah, no, you pretty much nailed it on the dot. They are happy to assist with anything. And also Hero and Champ, when you meet them for the first time and whenever you have an issue, they're super nice. They're very helpful in every way. And every single person I've met who's had an encounter with them has said it's just some of the best experiences they've ever had as far as customer satisfaction and just making them feel safe.
And they have a real passion for keeping our community safe.
Sure.
So,
yeah. Oh yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Oh, you go ahead and show it.
Yeah. I was gonna show the app.
Hi.
I would say I have it, so I know what it looks like, but I don't know if some of our guests have never seen it before.
Yeah. So it's very, very simple. I don't know if you can see it that well. There we go.
Yep.
But if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, well, it has everything here. So it has the map, alerts, hurricane information. They can get it. There we go. But if you go here, I don't know if you can see it that well, where it says request Hero and Champ. You just click on that. And what it will do is it'll show you a dispatch number where you can click dispatch now or cancel if you don't need it anymore. It's all through just one touch of a button all in the app.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Because I know I had a flat tire one time. I did not want to get on the side of the street and try to change the tire. I was
Yeah,
terrified.
I
So,
can change one, but I don't want to.
and so tell us about the signs because I'm really big on social media and I follow you guys on social media and it's very updated, especially, and it's pretty fun and you know, and I kind of look forward to actually looking at the signs.
Yeah, so with our signs, they are all over Georgia, pretty much, all over the interstates. With our signs, we have travel times, we have informational signs. So a lot of our informational signs do actually include making motorists aware not to drink and drive, travel safely. We also do have statistics as well for important things such as fatalities. But then we also do have, like I said before, travel time. So for this picture on the my left-hand side, it says the express lanes are closed. The local time is 60 miles per hour to get to I-75 South to State Route 155. But with everything going on regarding COVID, we actually have not a huge meeting, but like a kind of a social media redo pretty much with how we were going to do our signs. And we have these signs right here. We're saying like, at the time, public beaches exercise only, make sure you social distance, give extra space to each other on the road as well. That was already there previously, but like you were going on with our social media, we were able to kind of construe it in our social media message saying, hey, make sure you're safe on the road, make sure you're always giving extra space, but also make sure in person you're staying 6 feet apart to give extra space as well. So that's just a little example of how I personally like taken what 501 has done with our DMS, CMS messaging on the road. And I've actually put that into our social media messaging as well, just to say, not to be tone deaf, make sure we're current on what we're talking about, to make sure not only the motorists and youth are safe on the road, but also they're going to be safe at home as well. Because even I remember when I was younger and before I was a part of 511, and I would be, I don't know, late middle school, early high school-ish, like before I got my driver's license, I would see those signs and okay, cool, we have this much time until we're there. And then I would always be informed like all the time of everything that was safe. I would need to know in order to be safe, like don't drink and drive. And all the fatality statistics made me more alert, like, oh, I need to be safe on the road. So everything these signs have done when I was like that age as a youth have still been impacted on me now as an adult. And now I'm a part of a team that helps make the signs and designs everything on social media. And yeah, it's a really great opportunity to be a part of for sure. And I was just going to add on to making signs as well. We actually, everyone at our transportation management center, employees at the center are in charge of giving the messaging on those signs, but then there will be special cases where a higher authority would do that. So specifically for the COVID signs, our governor actually told us to put them up for safety purposes.
Awesome. 6 feet apart. All right. Yep. Thank you so much, Arvin.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And that's your contact information.
Yeah, just my information. If you ever need to call me for any reason, I recommend use my cell phone since I'm just out of the office right now. But yeah, that's my name, title, and contact info.
All right. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Teresa?
Okay, so when we did all of our presentations, this was something that we talked to our attendees about every single time. It was on every presentation we did. We know that kids are going to make mistakes, and they'll probably end up in a situation where there will be alcohol involved. So we want to make sure that they understand what the signs of alcohol poisoning are. So the top 4 signs are vomiting, shortness of breath, pale, cold skin, or somebody passing out. And we want to make sure that the youth and teens, if they see any of these happening, to not just, let it go and be like, oh, well, they got sick because they had too much alcohol, they'll be fine, we'll let them go. Or if somebody falls asleep or passes out, don't just leave them there thinking they're going to sleep it off. You want to call 911, you want to call for help. And if you click one more time for me, there's a Georgia code that is written. It's a state law that, if you're underage and you call because you're afraid that your friend has alcohol poisoning and, you know, EMTs and police officers come out, they will not arrest you. They will not cite you. You won't get a ticket, because they would much rather you call 911 for help when you're in that situation than have something really bad happen. So don't ever think, well, if I call the cops, I'm going to go to jail because I'm, you know, 16 or whatever. No, they won't. They'll talk to you, I'm sure, but you're not going to get arrested, and you won't get cited, because they want to make sure that everybody is being safe.
Of course, we talked about treatment, but what if I'm not the problem? So, of course, always be open to having conversation with your friends who are having issues, right? Maybe your friend is actually having a problem with alcohol or drugs. Talk to them about how they feel, but also let them know that there is resources available for you, for that person. So here are some resources available. It's a national hotline that you can refer them to. And of course, always understand that you don't have to include alcohol and drugs with your friend, with your fun. You're not alone here, and we're here to help. Let's meet Philip.
America, meet Philip, a happy-go-lucky prankster, incredibly talented athlete, and lovable son and brother whose life was changed forever. This is his drunk driving story. 28.7 million people admit to driving drunk every year. 28.7 million means that on any given day, there are roughly 300,000 drunk drivers on the road. Thankfully, 1.1 million are caught and arrested, roughly 3,200 a day. But even with those arrests, there are still 296,800 drunk drivers on the road each day. Keep in mind, the statistic strictly focuses on the people who admit to driving drunk. Philip lived in a highly populated area, so it only took him 26 years to encounter one of these drunk drivers. But Philip survived the crash. He was only injured, just injured. But those injuries were so severe that he was left with permanent brain damage and the inability to care for himself. After the crash, the medical bills began piling up, far surpassing $250,000 in the first 6 months alone. So Philip's family attempted to sue the drunk driver, but on top of his legal fees, he could only pay them $10,000. Then they attempted to sue the bar that overserved the driver, but the bar's insurance policy ran out, leaving Philip's family at a financial dead end. Speaking of the driver that hit Philip, the average drunk driver will make it home 80 times before being arrested. And this driver already had 6 prior drunk driving offenses, but still took to the road drinking and driving. The kicker in all of this? Although Philip was left with permanent brain damage, the driver didn't kill him. And since he didn't, the maximum sentence in his case was just 10 years. The driver got 10 years. Philip got life. That's 10 years for ruining one man's future, leaving one family in pain, and creating one story to share. The drunk driving epidemic is hard to dispute when you stick to the stats. Over 1.1 million drunk drivers are arrested every year, and drunk driving injures 290,000 people a year, from minor to debilitating injuries, just like Philip's. In fact, in the 2 minutes you've spent watching this video, another innocent person has been injured by a drunk driver. With numbers this high, we're all involved. If you or someone you know has been impacted by drunk driving, please share your story on social media using hashtag #MyDrunkDrivingStory.
All right, so we're at the point where we're having question and answers. Let's go to our chat room.
Yeah, look, we didn't have any questions. People were downloading the app though. So good job, Ivan. You're getting their app downloaded.
Yes, you are. Wonderful.
I guess I have a question about MAD in general, and just what has been like your biggest success in really getting all of this information out. Like what have you guys been doing? I'm sure like everything really, but what do you find is a really good approach?
Talking to parents, talking to educators, because again, their direct impact on children. And parents want to know. I feel as a parent myself, I feel like, okay, I get more tools on how to parent my child to be more successful. along with everything else that's going on, because you want to make sure that your children are successful. So this is just another tool to get them to where they need to be. The number one success, and also talking to young people. We have, and you know, Teresa's our statistic person, but we've, in the last couple of years, we've reached over almost 4,500 kids throughout the state. And that's in elementary, middle, and high school. And they're like, you know what? Even if we go there every year, there's still more information we can teach them.
Yeah, I think when, just like Kaylee, when we get the opportunity to speak in person with someone, it's really cool to see the kids realize that they can actually talk to their parents. And then the parents are like, okay, yeah, we do need to have this conversation. That's one of the things that I've always seen, you know, ever since the very beginning of working with Matt. You know, they want to know, they just don't really know yet, I guess you could say. You know, being able to do something like this, even though we can't be, you know, live face-to-face in person with the kids or the guardians, it gives us the opportunity to still get the information out. And if they miss it, you know, when we have it at 10 in the morning or 2 in the afternoon, they can always go back to YouTube and check it out. I know that I've gotten a couple calls specifically from that, and it's worked out good. So that's why I like doing this one. This was fun.
It is. And actually, we have Denise Yerger. She's from the Department of Health. Denise, I know we kind of, I wanted to include you in the conversation because you talk a lot about young drivers and their statistics. And if you can just kind of introduce yourself and tell us a little about what you do.
Sure. Denise Yeager. I'm with the Department of Public Health. I work actually a lot with data, especially on traffic safety. For a couple of things, for putting together actually a young adult driving fact sheet together, a quick facts which has a lot of prevention information, kind of a front and back, and then we're also doing kind of a more in-depth one, and so it has some great statistics and information on those. I also wanted to point out also with the for drinking, we also have a YRBS, which is a youth risk behavior survey, which is school level based. So you have different pockets around the state taking the survey for 9th through 12th graders. They have the behavioral characteristics and some survey questions, and some of them are like some of the ones I saw earlier, which was the binge drinking, or if you were a passenger with a person who was drinking, as some of the questions. I just also wanted to point out of those that if they had any alcohol, in the 2019 YRBS, we showed that 12th graders who drink any alcohol beverages was about 1 in 4. And then also where that the percentages of high school students, grades 9 through 12, who usually got their alcohol when they drank is by someone who gave it to them, which was about a third. But the statistics I kind of want to also point out is that for females, it was actually about half. So if someone had asked them, they actually took the drink. But there's some great information on there that is statewide. And then if you do come across the survey, please answer it and turn it in. It has not only information about alcohol use, but also like seatbelt use and some other behavioral questions are on there too.
Right, and I know that I'm on the White Hat committee as well, and I know we're not quite ready to release the data sheet, the fact sheet, but when will that actually be ready to be released?
It will be released by definitely by the end of our fiscal quarter, which is September 30th. That will definitely be a good endpoint. We are in the process right now. And then we will also have it actually on our landing page, which will be Governor's Office of Highway Safety.
Thank you so much, Denise.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for today's call. This is our information. If you have any other questions or concerns, this will be on YouTube probably tomorrow. if you want to revisit it or you have any additional questions. I'm just going through my chat box to see if we have any other questions. Teresa?
No, I think I'm good. Like I said, we had a lot of people download the app. They're thankful for all the information. Yeah, don't have any questions, which I guess we gave them all the right information, so they don't have any questions.
I have a quick question, actually.
Oh.
There's just one that I thought of. So with everything that Matt does to inform and teach kids, the youth, and parents on the dangers of drunk driving, do you think there's also like a conversation is, because I've always thought of this as well, is that do you think that portion control is a big factor that a lot of teens don't know when consuming alcohol? Not that they should be consuming alcohol anyway. Just because, like, I remember when one of my friends at the time, I think he was 16, 17, he was study exchange, study abroad trip to Germany, and his mom obviously taught him like the dangers of alcohol way beforehand, but this time because he was a little older, she was teaching him like, okay, so I know that age specifically in Germany is different, so this is how much you should have here, this is how much you should have, and don't overdrink this. And now he's talked to me before, and he said, yeah, like I know now not to binge drink, I know now not to do any of that. And do you think that could be an important conversation that comes up between parents and kids later on in their teen years?
Yeah, we kind of touched on it during week 3, Tyson, because he's the one that is actually on the road, and he's the one that interacts with people. His whole task force is nothing but DUIs. That's all they do. And he does notice that, like, the younger population, like the 16, 17, 18, the first new drivers, they're usually right at the BAC. But it's still illegal for them because they're underage. But then as they get into the college years, there's a lot of kids that have never been around it, never had any conversations with their parents, have no idea how it's going to react to their system. And that's where a lot of that overindulgence gets kids into serious trouble. So I know that we do talk about that, but our main message through Matt is, don't drink until you're 21, period. Just don't do it.
Right. And also there's different counties that have social ordinance laws. So if you are a person that provides alcohol to young people, you can actually be penalized if you're the renter or you actually are the parent that is hosting a party. So we have to tell parents that this is, again, against the law to serve. You cannot introduce introduce alcohol to people that are under 21, number one. And we have to let them know what the brain development could happen if they continue to use. And so when we educate our parents and our caregivers on that law, they understand that, okay, we maybe cannot start or supervise this bad behavior. A great question.
I just wanted to add on that, just because of being in the prevention field real quickly, is that I do know of some college campuses, and I think that's the time to have a conversation when they're in that transitional phase, that they'll do like social norms campaigns on campus about what binge drinking is and what responsible drinking looks like. And that's the time I believe to have those type of conversations, is when they are more dependent, but so on college campuses, I think that's a great initiative.
Yeah, we have mocktail parties that doesn't include alcohol. So there's, again, the new norm, and we have to continue to have this conversation. In middle school, we, evidence-based, high school, pre-prom event, and of course now you're on your own in college and young adulthood. So this is our contact information listed here. Thank you so much for being a part of our enrichment series this summer. I can't believe summer's over.
No, my little person goes back to school next week.
Wonderful. Here's our contact information. If you have any other questions, just let us know. Thank you.
Thank you guys very much.
I stop smiling now? Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Bye.
Yes, thank you.